You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Perimenopause hit and it engulfed me. Engulfed in the sense, like literally it was like an octopus. And, taking all, it's like literally taking all my life. My physical wellness, my mental wellness, my social wellness, my personal relationships.
Good afternoon, good day, good evening. I don't know what time you're listening or where you're listening from. It's your boy, your host, Ron Tillman, and you are with me for another episode of Walk in Victory. Speaking of victory, walk.
Warning! This is a public service announcement. The Walk in Victory podcast is where we have conversations purposed to evolve lives. You may not want to evolve. Then tune into another bleeping podcast. Everyone else, enjoy the show. And here's our host.
Good afternoon, good day, good evening. I don't know what time you're listening or where you're listening from. It's your boy, your host, Ron Tillman, and you are with me for another episode of Walk in Victory. Speaking of victory walks, we have a special edition of this podcast today. Normally, we have conversations half hour to 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, but today we have a short edition, but a very impactful message. And we're going to bring our guests right in, so I'm going to hold off on the introductions. Yeah, I heard many of my stories. Amita, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Nara.
No problem. Thank you for joining us. The last time we was sit down, I had some things happening and we had to switch. So I really thank you for sticking with me and getting this message out. Can you please tell our audience what it is that you do and how are you impacting the world?
Absolutely. So what I have done is created a holistic wellness platform for middle-aged women to navigate their perimenopause to post-menopause journey. So the reason it's so important is because this the phase of a woman's life beyond the reproductive years, so to speak, is been under-researched, underfunded, and not really paid attention to all over the world. It doesn't even matter in the United States or anywhere. So, and this directly impacts the rise of chronic condition all over the Western world, and in fact, all over the world. We know that women over 55, 80% of them have chronic condition, and trillions of dollars are being spent to manage and prevent chronic condition. And there's a lot of research that binds the fact that lack of care during the perimenopause, menopause journey after the reproductive years is a direct relation to the rise of chronic condition. So that's what I think the impact, what we are trying to do.
So when we talk about chronic condition, can you define that?
Chronic condition is something that you're living with it all the time, day in, day out. For instance, I'll just explain. Diabetes type 2, you're just living with it, right? You can manage it. Some people can also reverse it with lifestyle, but this is something day in, day out. Osteoporosis, your bone loss, right? You're living with it. Dementia, once you've lost your memory, you can't get it back. That's just the way it is. Dementia, heart health, right? Heart disease, so to speak. It is continuously going on with you every single day. These are some of the cancer Cancer is another one that you're living for it for a number of years unless it goes back, and then you're cancer free, and then you still have to kind of make sure that you are following certain protocols so that you remain cancer free. So these are some of the examples of chronic conditions that not only United States but all over the world they've just skyrocketed, right? If you look at the data, I don't want to go too much into the detail here, but trillions of dollars have been spent in this country and all over the world to manage, prevent, and maybe some, if they can be reversed. I'm not a medical doctor here, but the whole idea is to really control the spending, the healthcare spending, and managing the chronic conditions. But the point that I am trying to make, the work that we are doing, is we are working with midlife women, 40 years and plus, right? Really empowering them, teaching them to take care of themselves beyond the reproductive years, right? That's the work that we are doing, so that this work, what we are doing, what I'm saying is, has a direct impact on reducing the chronic condition. It's not going to happen in 6 months. It's going to happen with women and men as well. I don't want to exclude men taking care of their health and wellness during these very, very important mid-age years, which we completely ignore.
Why do you feel that this is something that is so overlooked? Where as we get older, this year I'll be 50 and I teach yoga and mindfulness. And as we get
Yeah.
older, we can have memories of working out and taking our vitamins and doing all this. And then we get older and it just become a memory. We become couch potatoes, we weekend warriors, right? People start to let themselves go. What is happening psychologically once we pass that age threshold?
Yeah, so I'll tell you about the women, right? The women in the women's wellness, the fertility part is the most important, right? We all know that pregnancy, fertility, years of. I mean, you are a coach, you know better than me in yoga, so right, mindfulness. So then after that, the idea of the perimenopause, menopause, women entering that has never been discussed openly in the society. That's number one. And number two, you asked me the question why it is overlooked. Then I think the fundamental reason why it's being overlooked is the primary care physicians, the doctors, are never taught about this topic in their 15 years of medical schools, right? And this actually statement I am not making. This was actually made by a gynecologist about a week back on NBC, that she said that they are not even taught what perimenopause is during the 15 years of medical schools. And I think that is the fundamental gap that's happening, is that as a woman or as a guy, you go to your primary care physician if you have any issues, or a yearly checkup, and they don't even talk about the hormonal imbalance men and women are going to go through during these mid-age years. Even men go through, their testosterone is going down. It's not just the women who female sex hormones are going down, right? They don't even tell you. Nobody talks about it. They are the sort of like the torch bearers of this whole thing, and they don't even mention. Nobody mentioned to me when I was going through perimenopause. I discovered it by myself and I started. And I think that is the fundamental issue here. Why it is being overlooked is the medical community, who is serving consumers like us. If they are not taught about it, then how are we going to learn about it? And then if this topic is not being discussed or openly discussed in companies, which they also are clueless, and then everybody's clueless, and that is why there's barely any funding or any research that has gone into this topic of women's health and wellness beyond the reproductive years. And we don't know, and we become couch potatoes because we think we are getting old, and aging is part of the whole process, and say, yeah, oh, you're getting old, it's part of the aging process. I mean, I've heard it so many times. And we also say, okay, I talked to my mom and she said, oh no, she has osteoporosis. She said, oh, it's just you get old and you get osteoporosis. Like, it's a brainwash thing. It's not true. We see a lot of 80-year-old running and doing all kind of things. So it's the perception.
When you stop moving, a lot settles in. And one, two, talk about the psychosomatic part of helping a person get their life back. How much do you have to work when you're working with your communities on their mindset and getting them out of the old conditioning into this new way of thinking and helping them get their life back, their flexibility back, their vitality back?
It's hard. I'll be honest with you. I have seen in my own family, I cannot convert my mom. I mean, she's old, right? She's 85-year-old woman, so she's not going to change, and that generation is very different. But I see women of my age, unless until there is some kind of a, like, they get into some serious issues, they're not going to change. Majority of them, okay? I'm talking majority of the of human, right? The habits, it's very difficult to change your habits unless until someone tells you, if you don't do this, you are going to end up having cancer, or if you don't do this, you're going to end up having what kind of a thing. So what I feel is that most of the men and women need an influencer or someone authoritative, right? And to tell them that if they don't do this, they're going to end up blah where, in kind of like a really bad thing. And that's where I think a role of primary care physicians, people like you, like yoga meditation coaches, that's where the role of the coaches are, or someone who is an influencer. Otherwise, as a human being, if you tell someone to change, they're not going to change. That's just a fact. They're not going to change until someone nudges them or beats, shouts at them, or not in a literal way. You know what I mean? Like, unless really someone is telling them, they're not going to change. People don't change. That is a fact.
Well, tell our audience about you and your journey. This is a unique business that you've carved out. Uh,
Yeah.
you have an important message. Why did you? What was it that moved you to champion your voice towards this cause?
So I'll tell you, my problems was that in my 30s, I used to have chronic fatigue, which was completely unexplainable. I did all kind of lab testing. I went to all kind of primary care physicians, and nobody could tell that what was wrong with me, right? So in my 30s, that's what I had, and I slowly started changing my lifestyle, because it was to a point that I could not even wake up in the morning and go to work. It was so bad. And then come 40s, when I entered my 40s, I suddenly this perimenopause hit, and it engulfed me. Engulfed in the sense, like, literally it was like an octopus, and taking all its like, literally taking all my life, my physical wellness, my mental wellness, my social wellness, my personal relationships, my financial wellness, to the point that I could not focus at work. It just engulfed my entire life. And that's when I needed to fix myself. At that time, I didn't think that I'm going to be sitting here in front of you and talking about this, right? At that time, I just wanted to fix myself, because I could not afford to leave my job. I needed the money, with the kids. I had two kids at that time. I mean, even now, but younger kids to go, the college and the whole nine, whole shebang, right? So for me, it became so important to fix myself. And I personally started researching so much into each and everything. And I'm personally a holistic person, because none of the medication worked for me when I had chronic fatigue. And at that time, I was an early believer of holistic wellness. And I have been exposed to it a little bit, having, grew up in India with yoga and Ayurveda. So that was another a little bit of thing, not too much, even though the whole world believed in the, normal medication. So that was my journey. And when I started researching, I started experimenting on myself, and slowly, I started, I fixed myself magically.
Let's talk about some of the magic that you used when you're
Mhm.
talking to women. How do you assess what how would you work with them? Like, what is your assessment process? What are some of the things that you've learned since you're now in this business and you're doing it at a high level? What are some of the things that you learned?
Yeah, so I'll just talk about. So first of all, I'm not a medical doctor. What we have done is we have a holistic wellness platform where coaches like yourself would come in, and we just enable that entire process of empowering these women, connect with the coaches or connect with the programs that would navigate them through this process of perimenopause, menopause, whether it's doing yoga, meditation, diet, other movement, or whatever, right? So that's really what we are doing, what we're trying to do. So now the assessment part is the first step is that we want the women to understand, right, the importance of that, because a lot of women don't even understand why this is important. So that's the awareness, the discovery part. Then the second thing is we want to gauge where they are, like what's their markers, where are they based, in the sense of, are they having some symptoms, mood swings? Like in my case, I had issues with hot flashes. I couldn't sleep at night. In the morning I would wake up and my moods would be going all over the place and my hormones are going crazy, and I'm like a crazy person without any control, right? I mean, things are spewing out of my mouth without thinking. So it depends. I mean, I'm not exaggerating, but honestly, that's what was going on with my life. So, how do you control? Where are you in the baseline? Right? It's important for us to understand where are they in the baseline, what is bothering them, because each woman, depending on the ethnic would be different. It's culture sensitivity. We know that this whole process in healthcare, we don't talk about the culture sensitivity, but you and I know that it is so important. So the first thing is understanding the baseline, and based on the baseline, either they can start the journey of a self-care journey, which is going to be super affordable, or they someone like yourself, a coach, they can get a coach to assist them with this through this journey. That's how we are starting this whole process, is starting self-care super affordable, like less than $10 a month, then going to the next level of some support from the expert, and then more support, maybe one-on-one a concierge services or complete VIP concierge. So that's the process we have, so that it gives a lot of flexibility. Also, it gives a lot of depth and understanding. And then women are not spending thousands of dollars doing just simple lab testing and not understanding what is wrong with them. And that's exactly what I was doing, right? So it's important to go in steps, is what my experience has taught me, and I validated it with about 3,000 women. So that's what we are doing.
And I love the price point. So you make it affordable so that people can't make an excuse. You have to put some skin in the game. So if you can't just give it away, but it's a mother is struggling, like you were saying, when you had the two kids that you had to worry about college and all that other stuff. You don't want to price yourself to a point where you can't work with 3,000 people, right?
Yes, exactly.
um, my last question for you: what books have impacted you, fiction, nonfiction, that as you're champion and you're telling these women about your story and helping thousands and thousands of women, that you would suggest to someone?
So, yeah, so autobiography for yogi, I actually get very fascinated and motivated by some of the yogis who have been so selfless in their pursuit of helping mankind, right? I mean, you are a yogi yourself, a yoga person. So I think, not that I'm saying I'm going to do it free, but on the other hand, the whole idea of how so many people in the world have made an positive impact on human lives, and those are the kind of books that impact me, and as a person. So recently I read a book called Cutting the Stone by Abraham Verghese. It's a very selfless kind of a way, medical doctors to make an impact in Africa, as an example. So these are the kind of books. It's not just that particular book, but these are the nature of the books that I personally recommend. I personally read that how other human beings have made an impact on so many lives, right? These are the books that I personally devote a lot of time learning about it and understanding And also history books is something that I personally read a lot. But autobiography of a yogi or some of the other yoga related or yogi related books that I highly recommend women to understand the higher spirituality, the higher philosophy, the faith. I love the faith and the religion, but there is a higher element of us being Catholics or Hindus or Muslims is a higher spirituality. That is something I personally am very drawn to, and I encourage everyone to understand the higher cosmos of all of us being controlled by.
It's funny that you say that. I before I got into yoga and mindfulness and stuff, I was already preaching, and that's my level of faith. But the mindfulness, the yoga piece took my faith to a higher level. If you can understand what I'm saying, because there's another level
Yes.
that you tap into, and and that level is from within, not from without. And I really appreciate the work that you're doing. Listen, everyone, all of the information for the website is right there in the description. Oh man, this feedback. Can you mute real quick?
Yeah, so people can go to www.nourishtalk.com, and the app is going to be out fairly soon in few weeks. So people can go and download the app if they have any questions. There is also a way to get in touch with us. So that's really the best way right now for anyone who's listening or whenever they listen to go to the website and give us the feedback, or just download the app, which would be available sometime in March of this 2025.
There you have it, everybody. We sit you at the feet of the masters. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Enjoy the rest of your day, but most of all, walk in victory. Peace. Good afternoon, good evening, good day. I don't know what time you're listening or where you're listening from. It's your boy, your host, Naron Tillman, and you are with me for another episode of Walk in Victory. Today we have a special edition. It's echoing. Hold on, let me stop.